Good. Welcome to Quick Fix Golf and another episode of our Wednesday night lunacy at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where all our pals get together. And tonight we have a very special guest, so we're all excited about Troy Wilson being here, who is a former trainer and leader of several locations for Golf Tech and really knows the stuff. He's a good friend of mine, and I have all the respect in the world for his teaching ability. I learned a lot of things from him that I've stolen from him myself, quite frankly. In fact, everything I do, I've stolen from somebody. I don't care who it is.
That confirms my suspicions.
Hey, you know, it's true. Isn't that true, Troy? I mean, you pick up stuff from other teachers, and you know.
Absolutely, yeah. You know, you have to learn not only things about the swing from others, but you have to learn how to communicate the swing, and that's really the key is to finding a coach that can communicate and pass along the message in a way that you can understand it.
I mean, I always felt like one of the places I learned the most was in the bar after a tournament.
Yeah.
When I played on the European tour, when you could go out and have drinks with players that were very successful. Hold on, there's background noise here. Hold on here. Let me see, where's that coming from? All right. And you could, if they liked you, you could quiz them and say, hey, how about this? How about that? Why are you doing this or why are you doing that? And you get feedback from that, and you just incorporate in what you're doing. What were some of the best teachers you saw, Troy, that you worked with?
Well, I saw a lot of great teachers teach, and over the years had an opportunity to work with different folks that had various backgrounds in golf, and they were either into the physical part of it, the physical fitness part of golf, or they were into club fitting, or they were into strictly teaching the swing and trying to understand either ball flight or motion or other things like that. So I had the opportunity early in my career to learn from Hank Haney, to learn from Jim McLean, to learn from some really great guys that Mike McGettrick that helped me out with kind of developing a passion for teaching and developing a passion for communicating, learning new ways to communicate with people and passing along the message, because the ideas of the golf swing are hard enough to understand without getting bogged down in personality. So a lot of times, you get with a teacher who had an idea that he was trying to forward to you, but there was no way for you to understand it because you were stuck with your perception of what it is that he was saying. Even though we're all speaking the English language, we have to break down that barrier and find another way to communicate with each other so that we can, either visually see it or physically feel it or just, to look at the results and go with the results the way that you see it. So it was good to see good teachers putting out that message, but it was also like Bob said, you have to steal what they did and make it your own so that you were successful.
Well, you might have been speaking in plain English. I was speaking in Spanish, so nobody knew what the hell I was saying. We got a swing here. We're getting swings, Troy, from all over the planet. This is a gentleman that sent us a swing. I don't know. We're getting it from Australia, from the moon, Jupiter. So look at this guy's backswing, and you tell me what you think.
So, you want to talk about where it is at the top?
Yeah. You just say whatever you want to say.
Okay.
Just be Troy.
From this angle, yeah. From this angle, when I look at it, what I would try and figure out is what the player's goal was there. Is he trying to look for more control or look for more power? In my opinion, there are two players. People who hit the ball accurately, and generally they don't have the power that they want, and so they're searching for power. And then people who hit the ball far, but they want to control it better. They want to have more accuracy. In this player's position at the top, it looks like he's over-rotated and he's gotten himself a little bit out of balance, and that would lead to problems with control. So he's probably overreaching for power, and he's sacrificing some of the control that he could have if he were more stable with his lower body.
Right. So people tend to think that size is power, meaning the size of the backswing.
Right, exactly. And
Where you can see a kid like Rahm, he's got half a backswing. If we come over here and look at Rahm, he's got half a backswing, and yet he, you probably know this software, don't you? A little bit.
Yeah.
This is the V1. I know you're used to a different one.
Right.
You see, but look at this backswing right here. That's all the backswing he's got.
Right.
And he knocks.
And if you look at the difference in the lower body position, the player who wearing the hat that we were looking at to begin with has rotated his hips more. He's come off of his front side or his left side a little bit too far, and when you look at his club past parallel, that's a result of over moving the lower body more than getting a bad position with his hands or his wrists at the top. There's certainly some stability things that could add to some control there, but again, I'd have to find out what his goal was. Does he want to be more accurate, or does he want to be more powerful? Either way, he's giving up some of that by over rotating at the top because he's got to dance himself back into position, and he's relying too much on timing to produce power and or accuracy.
And what did you say he had to do? He had to dance himself back into position?
Yeah.
What are we sending these clowns to Arthur Murray?
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, we're sending you to Arthur Murray. I know what. I'm just kidding, Troy. I like that. Troy and I are good pals.
Well, again, if you look at the tour player, but next to him, he's in basically his lower body's in the same position it started.
I agree with you. I found that a lot of people, they don't realize they want to shorten. I mean, they don't realize they need to shorten their backswing. You tell them, say, it's got to be shorter. And really the way to do it is what Troy just said. Resist a little more with the lower body, and the backswing will shorten all by itself. If you look at Immelman here, and you'll see his lower body, doesn't move anywhere near as much. So that's why Troy right away picked up the guys overturned in the hips. That's what I like about Troy. He's got an eye, and you have to develop an eye. And it's really good for you to have the V1 app yourself and be able to look at yourself when you're practicing and developing an eye for the stuff we're showing, so that you know when you look at yourself on your cell phone, you go, wow, yeah, I am overturning. You can download that V1 app. I think it's free. Is it free, Paul? Oh, hold on. Let me get Paul on here. Where did Paul go? Hey, Paul.
The V1 app is free.
There he is.
However, the V1 app is free. However, you have to pay a few bucks to get the features that teachers use. In other words, to draw the lines and so forth and so on. So there's some professional features on there they make you pay a little extra for.
How much did they pay? How much are you going to pay extra?
You know, Bobby, I can't remember what room I was in last, so that's going to be very difficult for me.
It was about $3.95 when I bought it a year and a half ago.
$3.95. Okay. It sounds like the pastor.
$3.95. Yeah.
Is that you, Pastor?
Yeah. I'm cutting a rehearsal to be here. The last part of rehearsal, anyway.
All right. So now, anything? What about his wrist up here? What do you think of those? Troy, you still there? Hello. What happened to Troy? I think he died. Oh, there he is. Troy.
Troy.
Oh, Troy. I think his phone call. But you see his hands.
Well, that was great, Bob. Look forward to the next week's webinar.
There you go. Let's pull up another swing. We got tons of them. Here, we got a good one here. Hold on. I got another one right here. Hold on. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. I got one coming. There he is. Look at that one. All right. Let's see. Where's Troy? Troy, something happened to Troy. Come on, Troy. Where are you? Vincent. All right. Now look. We're going to look at.
Am I unmuted now?
There you are. You all right, Troy?
Yeah. Yeah, they muted me for some reason.
Uh-oh, I'm sorry. Maybe I did that. What do you think of this setup right here?
From what I can see here, hitting an iron, it looks like it's a little forward, but not bad. I mean, it's pretty balanced.
Well, you say a little forward. What do you mean, more on his left foot?
No, it looks like the ball's a little forward for an iron, but, you know, it looks okay.
What iron did you have there, Paul?
A 6.
Okay. All right. So then here he goes back. I'm going to draw a line here. Here he goes back. And then he gets in front of it and tosses his cookies early and gets scooped and swings towards the third baseline. What would you do for him?
Yeah. So, first of all, the fact that he reversed his weight at the top also indicates that he might have had the ball forward, and he would, if we'd have put the ball back one ball position, I think you'd have been better off. Looking at that position that you're showing me right there, it looks like his path came back in toward his body.
Right.
So we've got issues with not being able to extend through impact. Let me just say this, that we need to start with the premise, and this is what's hard for folks to understand, that the club design, the way the manufacturers design golf clubs, is so that we can strike the ball on an inside-out path. We're moving from the player through the ball, through the target line on an inside-out path with an open face. And when we don't do that, we're fighting the technology that we're swinging. We're really fighting the equipment, and we do that for lots of reasons. We do that for the purpose of trying to control ball flight, but we don't understand the technology when we do that. When we fight the when we fight path and ball flight laws. If everybody can get that down, Bobby, are you trying to draw ball flight? Is that what you're doing there?
Here's the left foot. Here's the right foot. Here's the ball. Yeah. And then the club comes straight back this way, comes back in this way, and goes out this almost like a figure eight a little bit.
Right.
Here.
And again, you have to hit the ball with an open face. When I look at Paul's position here, there's no way that his path went away from his body. It went back toward his body.
Now, you don't think the club face should be
closed? Close to the ball flight path, but not the target line. It should be open to the target line at impact.
Well, I would always think it'd be square to the target line, but close to the path by about 2 or 3 degrees.
I think if you start with a face that's square to dress and you swing inside out, trying to hit the ball with an open face, it will be close to the path because it started close to the path, but it will be open to the target line.
Well, then you're counting on the ball coming back right to left, right?
Well, okay, so again, most people there are 2 ways that people play. They either have control and they're looking for power, or they're pretty accurate. They hit fairways and they hit greens, but they don't have a lot of power, or they have power and they're looking for control. And I would say most people end up in the latter category. They end up in the power looking for control. So to control ball flight, you need to be able to control one direction. I generally tend to start to teach people to learn to draw the ball for whatever side of the ball they're standing on, because that adds the most power and the most control. Now, once you've got control of one side of the ball flight and you can draw the ball, which everybody wants to play a draw, and every time I'm playing golf and I hit my little baby draw, everybody's like, I wish I could hit the ball like that. So I know everybody wants that. When you play like that and when you have that control, then you can work on controlling the ball flight direction to go the other way. But if you don't have control of where you want the ball to go, then you're not going to produce the power, and you're not going to score or get the goals you want. Your instruction with with golf is a lot easier if you go into the concept of not fighting the technology. The golf club is designed to be hit with an open face. It is designed to be hit on an inside-out path. That's how the golf club is set up. That's the technology that is inbred in the design of the golf club, whether it's offset or not. Offset, what that does, it makes it the ability to keep it open longer. That's all it does. It makes it so that you have that ability to keep the face open and hit it and produce a draw. It's what it does. As you learn to do that through your golf swing, you need less offset because you're going to overhook the ball or draw it more than you need to because you've already learned how to control the face and swing path.
So what would you do with Paul to get him to extend his arms and swing out towards the second baseman?
So what I would have done was I would have had him set up, again, with the ball back at address. So you asked me at address what his setup looked like. I would have had him put it back one ball position, so more toward the middle of his stance, but not quite the middle. So a one ball from where he started. I would also have him work on just starting by taking it back to the inside and swinging out to the right. Doesn't have to be a big swing, just could be a little chip type swing, like a long chip shot, and trying to hit the face with the face open, making sure the ball flight starts right of the target line. And even if it doesn't come back right away, if he just keeps working on that extension like that, he's going to be better off.
You mean something like little short shots from here to there?
Right. Exactly. And you see the difference in extension with that shot.
See, look, he's coming around himself in there. And, I mean, he's worked so hard on this, and it's just been really tough on him to get his arms to go out. And I think –
well, as I say, I think with everything you've taught him on this, his still in his mind, he doesn't grasp the concept of inside out face open, because right now with that path that he's working on and how he's pulling his arms in, he's doing his best to make sure that ball doesn't flare out to the right or slice on him, because slicing for him reduces the shot distance, so he loses power and he also loses control. So the harder he hits it with this swing, the further offline it goes.
All right.
How are you going to get right to left spin if your club face is open to the target line?
Like this.
Well, so the way it's designed, the way the club is designed, if you set up at address with the club face square to the target and you swing inside out and you come in to an impact position where you hit the ball open to the target line, it will still be slightly closed to the path. And so it'll start right at the target line, and it will always have that right to left spin. That's the design of the golf club. That's what manufacturers put into the design of the golf club. It's not a straight knife there. It's got angles, and you can make it even more by adding offset or changing the lie angle. But the fact is if the clubs are relatively close to fitting you, if you just do that, if you come inside out. And when I was teaching people to do this, the angle I was looking for was 22.5 degrees. Now, as you get closer to impact, that number reduces. But if you look at the whole angle from your backswing, kind of where you can see it through impact, and you go into it at about 22.5 degrees, and you swing out inside out, and the face is only open a couple of degrees, it'll still be closed to the ultimate ball flight path where the ball is going to fly. Start flying from right and turn back to the left. Now, again, if you start small, it'll look like just a little punch out to the right, but you'll see even on those little shots that they're not turning to the right. They're trying to turn to the left. And then as you get better at that and start to add a little power, they are definitely drawing back to the target line. And in a full swing motion, you're just.
I got a little diagram here that might help them understand it. Here's the path of the golf club going back like this, and then looping in and coming this way, and heading out towards the second baseman. Now, if your club face were square to the path, it would be here.
Right.
Right.
And that's open.
No, that's not open.
Yeah, and I'm saying it would be open to the target line.
It's open to
a
the
little
target
bit,
line. The square to the path.
but it'll be slightly closed to the path.
So if his club face was like this, let's say 1 or 2 degrees close to the path,
Yes.
it's still open to the original
but a 1 or 2
position when
degrees
you
open to
started.
the target.
Say that again. Say that again.
So at impact, and here's what's great about that.
It's open, you
So
idiot.
what's great about that is it doesn't have to be precise.
What do you think of that, Troy? That's our system. It's open, you idiot. Now shut up.
Are you saying that the design of the club, that the design of the club is, even if it's slightly open, it's going to close itself if you swing on that path you're talking about?
It doesn't close itself. You got to buy those, are extra. They cost.
No, what I'm saying is that the beauty of what I'm talking about is it doesn't have to be precise. You don't have to control impact. It can be a couple degrees open or a couple degrees closed, but it needs to be sort of open as you make impact. So it can be 2 degrees open, it could be 4 degrees open, depending on your path, your inside-out path. It can still work with some room for human error or human timing on the thing. So it doesn't have to be exact. What it needs to be is slightly open to your address position as you're impacting the golf ball. Trying to get it back to square is futile. You shouldn't be trying to do that. And it's not going to produce, even if you were to hit it at 0-0. And what I mean by 0-0 is 0 degrees path. So you came in on exactly the path of the target line, and 0 degrees face angle. You're not going to get the same results you would if you were inside out, say 4 or 6 degrees at impact, and your face was open 2 or 3 degrees at impact. If you did that, you get a much better result, a much longer and a more accurate result, and more working toward the design of the golf club. We can't produce 0-0, not all the time, not as humans, nor should we try to. We should be trying to produce inside out with slightly open. Mm-hmm. So like I said, if I were to show you 22.5 degrees, you were to sling, and that looks a lot better, Bobby, thank you. Looks like you're inside out 22.5 degrees on your path. By the time you actually get to the ball, you're only going to be inside out about 6 by the as a measurement at impact. But you have to be swinging inside out 22.5 degrees to get to that. And people want to take it straight back and straight through instead of swinging inside out, or as Bobby puts it, out to second base. If you don't swing out to second base, and second base isn't in your mind at 22.5 degrees, and you're not hitting it with an open club face, not only are you fighting what is typically ball flight instruction by most instructors, you're also fighting, in my opinion, and the science of it, you're fighting the technology of the golf clubs. You're actually working against the golf club that you're holding in your hand.
You see, one of the problems with the club is always that shaft is on the bottom of the head. If they made another shaft that went from here to there, everything Troy and I are saying wouldn't be true.
Right.
Or if they built the golf club the other way around, which they did. They made clubs. I've seen them. Back in 1963, I was about 13 years old. And the club head was underneath the shaft. Now, they let you make a putter that way, but they won't let you make a golf club that way. The USGA will kick it back. So,
they've tried, there are club companies that have tried to put end up with the shaft more in the center of the face by offset and things like that. But you still are, all you're doing is fudging. You're just trying to get it to work against the technology. If you understand how it works, if you go with the premise that it has to be produced on an inside-out path with an open face, then it's much easier to go along with ball flight.
See, the shaft was in the center of the club head, like this blue line I have right here. You wouldn't have to swing inside out. You could swing straight at it, and you wouldn't have a problem.
Yeah, except for if you hit it off the heel or off the toe, it wouldn't go anywhere.
You got that right. But it would go straight. But same thing with the golf.
It would go straight.
if you take the dimples off the balls, you can hit it. You can't hit it more than about 150 yards, but it'll go dead straight every time, no matter what you do. You can't spin it. Who's got some? Anybody else got some questions? If not, I'm going to pull up another swing.
Yeah, Bob, advocate shelling the inside out position.
What's that, Neil?
What was that? What was that question?
You advocate shelling the club on a downswing to get to the inside out position.
You mean shallowing the club?
Downswing, correct.
You mean the shaft? Okay, hold on. Let's look at this here. Wait a minute. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Let's look at the new kid on the block that does that. Here's Champ. And you'll see how he shallows the club up. Oops. Wrong one. This one will be better. Who's making that noise in the background? We'll just go ahead and shoot him, get it over with. Here we go. Now we go this way. This is camera check. Ooh, I don't like where he took the club there. But that's okay. He's making more money than me. Well, this goes so fast you can't see it. Let's look at Sergio. See, he goes steep to go shallow.
Yeah. Now he's an extreme example, but that's exactly what I'm talking about. Now, if you were to put those parallel lines like Bobby was drawn on his target line, and you look at the club face there, you can see the club face is definitely open at impact. It's awesome, and he's also able to start the ball right of his target line. So it starts right of his target line. It's a great shot there, and he trusts that it'll come back. That's like hitting English on a pool cue. It's the same thing. You want that ball to start right for a right-handed player. You want to at least learn how to do that, because golf instruction becomes so much more easy if you understand that you have to start it right. It has to start right at the target line. If you were to extend from your ball a straight line out for 6 feet or 8 feet, and you were able to get that ball to start right at that line with an open face, you'd see what I was talking about. There's no doubt about it. And it becomes so much easier to communicate every other part of the golf swing development from that basis, from that platform.
Well, I think his question though is should you shallow out the shaft on the way down, and if so, how would you do that?
Well, there are other people that also say you would take it back way to the inside. So you're advocating, Bobby, taking it and making it sure that you loop it from kind of an outside position or a target line position back to the inside, which would obviously cause it to shallow. It would have to be shallower than the steeper takeaway in order for that to happen. There are other people that say just take it back to the inside and swing out, like that. So either way, the platform is that you have to impact the ball inside out with an open face. And that is the way the golf club is designed to be hit.
Do you think there's an advantage to shallowing the club out on the way down?
No, the only advantage is to be able to get to the path. So it really is how you learn the path, how you learn to get to your path. I believe you're right in saying that there needs to be sort of a figure eight motion, because that helps you make sure that you're producing an inside out path. If you try to manufacture the path by, drawing an inside out line and trying to take it back on that line, odds are you're still going to go over the top and end up producing a slightly outside in path.
Well, here's a drill that we prescribe at times. And you'll see I've got this stick right here. Forget all the rest of them. The rest is just a hitting station. But you see I'll hinge the club up, and then you see where the shaft is. And then I drop it. I lean back a little bit. I cheated a little bit there to get it underneath the stick on the way down. See?
Right.
See, my face is open there. Then it goes over.
Oh yeah, when you hit the ball, it will be open as well.
But you see, it's right on the line here. See, so to me,
but that's
I feel like I'm going that
as
way.
it went through the line, yeah, you were swinging out. That's right. Yeah.
That's what it feels like to me. It feels to me like I'm swinging right out between first and second base.
And that last line that you drew, that last inside line, I would prescribe that at 22.5 degrees.
22
and I do it every time, and I think you're absolutely right about that.
Okay, so then here's 90. I don't know if you can see that.
Right.
So 22 less is going to be what, 68?
Right there.
Wow. All right. Any other questions?
Bobby, it seemed like you lost your spine tilt on that when you're coming to the ball or getting too.
No, I said I cheated. I cheated. I was doing this as a drill, and I cheated. I really should have stayed right on this angle right there and then just pulled down with the arms. But watch, I backed up here a little bit. See, I should have done that.
Well, and the reason you did that is because you were trying to swing under the stick. So the purpose of that was to try and exaggerate the motion.
Right.
And honestly, I really believe in exaggeration of the motion, because without exaggeration, you're not going to get there. If you're trying to kind of fine tune or do it just a little bit, I'm just going to change this just a little bit, you're never going to get there.
Troy, I'm sending you $100 tonight just for that. Don't spend it all in one place.
Yeah, thanks.
Any other questions? I got some good questions. Give us a hard one, will you? Give us a hard question. Hello.
I'm here.
The setup for the driver is going to be different than the setup for the irons, correct? In terms of your hands and your head?
Yeah, absolutely. Longer clubs push you further away. And even if you prescribe to Nicklaus's notion that there was one ball position that was just inside your heel, just the fact that you're further away from the ball with a longer shaft and a much more shallow lie angle, your head's going to be further back, even if you did that. So it's going to appear that you're further behind the ball, and you got to get used to the fact that you need to stay behind the ball. So when you're further behind with the ball of the driver, don't try and end up in a wedge position. Stay back there and swing out.
Yeah.
In fact, Darren was talking about, Darren used to work for Nicklaus for 7 years, and he talked about how Nicklaus, he almost in a sense was casting it right from the top in his mind. Doesn't mean that's what was happening.
Without a doubt.
And that
without a doubt.
He felt like release was when the club was furthest away from your spine.
And
so he's throwing the club
this
out.
This is a guy who hit a 43.5 extra stiff steel persimmon head 300 yards.
Mm-hmm.
So, we've got great advantages in golf equipment compared to what he did. He was very strong. He stayed behind it and he whacked it. But he, like you said, he didn't chase after it. He set up behind it and swung inside out. He swung out away from it, and like you said, he cast it out there. He threw it way out there, as far away from his body as he could.
Now wait a minute. You just said he set up behind it. What did you mean by that?
Well, so if you look at the basic design of a golf club, because the shaft is longer on the driver, and because it's also the lie angle is lower, if you set it up, off your front heel, because of the distance further away from the ball you are, your head is going to end up massively more behind it than it would with a shorter, more upright golf club.
Yay, Troy! And I didn't set him up for this, gang. I mean, I'm just asking the questions here. I just wanted to see what you say. And that's one of the biggest problems is everybody seems to have taken keep your head down and turned it into keep your head over the ball or keep your head still. And even Nicklaus puts in all his books and all this stuff. You got to keep your head still and watch what his head does. Watch this.
Yeah.
It drives me nuts because he tells everybody you got to keep your head still. The Jack Druga used to grab my hair. He's lucky he's not bald. But look at this. His head go up and then watch where it's going to go. Look at it go back.
Yeah.
It goes backwards. It doesn't stay still. I mean, you look at, I was brought up by, what's his name there? Oh, look at her. Here she is. You know, Bill Melhorn and those guys, I know they've moved right off the bat. He used to say, the first thing to move when you take a step is your chest. You lean forward and you catch yourself. So the first move should be, see that lean she has? That to me, that's a super backswing right there. She really.
Well, it's honestly the best way to shift weight is to move your upper body like that.
Oh, right, and you got to maintain this lower body from here down.
Right.
I've heard guys talk about being in a pool and your lower body's in the pool and your upper body's out of the pool, so you can turn, but you can't move into water, or your lower body's in jelly. And I've heard extremes, like your lower body's in cement. But yet you see a lot of people trying to take their legs, and I'll give you a perfect example, Nicklaus. It's on our website. They did an interview with him. They said, "Did you attribute your success to your tremendous leg drive?" And he said, "I used to always read that in the magazines about my leg drive and everything." He said, I never thought about using my legs." Somebody's making noise. He said, "My key was I tried to feel like I could get the club to the ball before the buttons in my shirt got there."
Bobby, what about squatting down, a slight squat, something like Roy?
Well, there's nothing wrong with a squat and pushing against the ground on the way up. But again, I think what Troy says is right. Are you looking for distance or are you looking for accuracy? The more cylinders you put in the car, the faster it might go, but you might wreck it too.
Well, talk about the 22.5 degrees in regard to Nicklaus and also Trevino, who both faded the ball instead of drawing it.
Okay, here it goes. Here it goes. I'm glad you said that. Hold on. I'm glad you said that. You said, I got Lee Trevino here. Now, can you imagine? I tell you what. If all the Mexicans were like
Trevino,
that's
Lee looks like you, Bobby.
No, if all the Mexicans were like Trevino, we don't need a fence 4 foot high. That's all we need.
The Mexicans would pay for it then.
Hey, Troy, you know what I told the guys at Rotary? We have a Rotary meeting, and we have this for charity every year, and they have these fake horse races. It's on a screen, and everybody bets and everything. It's all fake. I said, no, what we got to do is have a wall and have a bunch of Mexicans on the wall, a little number on their back, and they'll try and crawl up the wall and you squirt them with squirt guns. And if you hit one of them, they go back down to the bottom again.
Oh.
And you bet on the one that gets over the wall, see? You guys got no sense of humor, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
That's funny.
I love politically incorrect.
I'm about as politically incorrect as they come, I'll tell you. See, now Trevino would do this. Here's his foot, and he would take his left foot and move it back over here.
Yeah.
It looked like it was open to the target. Here's the ball. He definitely very much looped it inside and went this way, big time.
So he's actually drawing the ball.
No,
he set up to fade it.
He said
it was designing his setup.
Where my lines are wrong here is this way. It really should look more like this.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
And so did Nicklaus. Actually, Nicklaus set his foot. He dropped his foot open too, so he could have more room to swing through. But this is after he had a great understanding of what path and face had an effect on the ball, and so what we teach is square, and we want you to understand that you need to swing inside out and hit it with an open face. After you've mastered that, then absolutely you can modify it to your playing style.
Yeah, it's supposed to get 1 to 2 inches of snow Friday night.
Really?
Talking about snow now?
We're going to have snow here, yeah.
No, I hate to tell you, Bobby, it was 50 degrees here, and I played golf today.
Really?
Yeah.
That's not fair.
Yeah, I played golf in Williamsburg today. It was about 50.
Yeah, but I live in Denver, Colorado.
Hey, Bobby, I've got a question, please.
He's in Denver, Colorado, smoking pot.
Yeah, I'm not. But I could.
I'm going to come visit you.
There you go.
Let's open up a new store. Wait, what was that question? Go ahead.
Yeah, Troy, as Bobby says that the arms win the race, and I really like that teaching philosophy. When you get a new student, is that something that you really convey to them about those arms got to drop before the body really kind of moves?
Well, it depends on what they're working on. If they don't have, really any fundamentals at all, I would probably start them with what I was saying before about understanding why ball flight's important, and understanding that if you can start to control the direction, if you can impart the spin that you intend on the golf ball, then you can it's a good platform to start with. So we always talk about grip, alignment, stance, and posture, so that we know that you know what we're looking at, and so it's as much for you as it is for us, so that we can kind of get everything kind of back to a level playing field. And then from there, we can build on, reaching your goals. If your goal is to hit the ball farther, then if you're in balance and you're using your body efficiently, and you're using the golf clubs as they were intended to be used, as I said, with an inside-out path, then you can start to add power. If your goal is accuracy, because you're already hitting it a ton, again, if you're in balance and you understand the ball flight, how that works, how you control ball flight, then again, you can start to add accuracy. Most people play golf without a plan. They go there and they don't see what's going on today. I'll see if I'm chunking it or hitting it thin, or I'll see if I'm hitting it right to left or left to right, and we'll just play like that. And without knowing that they could control it. And controlling it is what they seek golf instruction for. If I can control part of this, or get some of those shots to be more consistent, then I can play better golf. And you're absolutely right about that. And that's what our job is to figure out where you're being inefficient, or you're not understanding how the equipment or how the ball flight works. And so to say that would be a staple, absolutely it's a staple. It's something I've taught. I used to use a Larry Mize video. Do you remember Larry Mize was perfect? He'd get up to a really tall position, almost looked like he was standing upright, and then drop it straight down, and then swing from the inside. And it was almost, when he came straight down, he was almost like from there, all he did was turn in and throw his arms out. He just turned his body and threw his arms out. And again, trying to win that race, he started turning his body, but he let his hands get through there first. And so I'd show that video over and over again, and I'd work on drills that enhanced that motion, but all of that didn't make a bit of difference unless they understood why they were trying to do that. And the why is because the golf equipment, the stuff you're swinging, works best when you hit it with an open face and when you swing on an inside-out path away from your body.
Now look, here's Trevino and Paul. Now, Paul, watch this. Look what Trevino does. You see that? Remember the girl we looked at?
Oh, yeah, baby.
See that shift? Now look at you, Paul. Watch your head. Oops. Oh, darn it. I'm sorry. Watch your head. I'm going to put a line right here. Now watch what you do. Oh, come on, Robert. What? I moved around. Okay, hold on. Dumb Cuban. Watch what your head does. See that? It stays dead still. See? Now you're over on your left side right here. You've shifted over. Look where he goes. He moves over here. You got to get your head and your upper body to move. 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 Take your head and put it all the way over there if you want. You got to get behind it.
That's what it'll feel like.
That's what it's going to feel like. See? See, Trevino, he stays behind. Look at his arms stretching out. See? Look how his arms is fully stretched.
It looks like an open stance to me. Paul, you doing that on purpose?
I think it's just the camera angle.
Okay.
Yeah. But you gotta get that upper body to move as soon as you start back. Get yourself behind the golf ball. Everybody wants to play golf on top of the golf ball. You don't play golf on top of the golf ball.
Bobby.
Troy,
This is Dennis.
Anybody got another question? A quick question for Troy, and we'll call it a night.
Bobby, this is Dennis. I was going to say something about Paul. We played golf Tuesday together, and the back nine, he did a much better job of getting behind the ball and staying behind it, and his ball contact was extremely solid.
Good.
Fitting question.
Hey, Bobby.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Hello?
Hello.
Yeah?
Can
you hear me?
can I
Yeah.
ask
Can I ask a question about fitting?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, Troy's a specialist.
All right.
Go ahead.
So I'm a 15 handicap, and not because my short game sucks, but because I'm playing a lot of Army golf up and down the fairway after I tee off. So I'm 64 years old. I was fitted for a 44-inch driver with a senior flex Aldila shaft, 12 degrees aloft, and a small head, it's 380 cc's. So I want to know, is there any advantage, and I need more distance. So now I'm familiar with swing speed and all that stuff. Is there any advantage to me to be looking at one of the drivers that's adjustable for fade and draw bias and adjustable hosel and a longer 45 maybe inch shaft? And I realize the longer the shaft, the harder it is to square it up and what have you, but should I be looking at that kind of a club to get more distance, or should I stick with the shorter driver that was originally fitted for me?
So can I ask you a question? When you were fitted with that, you were there hitting the golf ball, and you probably chose between the bigger head and the smaller head. Do you remember why you chose the smaller head?
No, I didn't. I didn't choose because the philosophy of the fitter, and it's a philosophy that's floating around out there, is that a smaller head is easier to square up and deal with than a big cantaloupe. You're looking down at a cantaloupe, basically, with a 460 cc head.
Okay.
Well, hold on. He just said the magic word, Troy. Hold on. You just said the magic word. The bias of the fitter. Now, let me tell you something. This was something I learned from Freddie Bond and Henry Griffiths, and this was very difficult for me to do. He said, Lopez, shut up. Don't talk during a fitting. You can't teach, and during a fitting, you should not interject any of your personal bias. You should follow the ball flight, follow the balance of the swing, follow the tempo of the swing, and let the club do the talking. Am I right, Troy?
Yeah, absolutely. So what I was going to say, between a 460 and a 380 cc, usually the reason a fitter would want you in a smaller head is because for whatever reason you were making better contact with that. Now, if you're saying that was his general philosophy, then possibly you should have walked away or said, listen, whether your philosophy is that or not, I still want to try the other head to see which one I hit farther, because my goal is distance. As far as that goes, the one that makes the best center contact, the one that gets you the most consistent center contact, is always going to produce the most distance.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just having a bigger head is not necessarily going to produce more distance.
Yeah,
also, again, same thing with the length. Having an extra inch of length is not, in and of itself, going to produce more distance if it causes more offset hits. So the only thing to say is, with an extra inch, would you swing it faster? So would you produce 103 miles an hour of ball speed instead of 100, or of club head speed instead of 101 miles? And two more miles of club head speed through impact, producing, could equal 15 yards of distance. Again, if the contact was good.
Well, are the adjustments on the heads, the draw bias, fade bias, and the hosel adjustments worth anything to me?
No, those are strictly for controlling distance or controlling direction. The distance is reduced by the lofted impact, the speed, and the the solidness of contact. Really. When I say solidness of contact, when you look at a tour player, they can produce 50% more club head speed than ball speed than their club head speed was going. So if they're swinging 100, then their ball comes off at 150.
50.
Most amateurs don't hit it that solid. And that's why, again, if you swing inside out with an open face, you're going to hit more solid for sure. You're going to hit with an open face, you hit the ball more solidly, no doubt about it. So to get maximum on that, you need to understand the ball flight, and you need to find the center of the face, and that's what club fitting is for. It's to get the right length, lie angle, loft, everything that produces the best effect for you. Now, as far as raw distance can go on a driver, what I've found to be the thing that produces the most distance is backspin. So reducing the backspin produces the absolute most distance.
Yes.
And I've seen good fitters get guys down to below 2,000, and that ball just goes forever. Yeah, and if you can get it down to below 2,000, because I got to tell you, when you get out there and you hit a driver with 4,000 RPMs of backspin, it's not going anywhere compared to a guy that's hitting it with 2,000 or less.
Yeah, understood.
And again, my thing is to say, you don't get to pick your clubs, and neither do I. Your swing gets to pick what golf clubs you're going to get.
Right.
Yeah, and I think what you just said about the being able to accurately hit it, the philosophy was this big 460cc head is actually harder to hit the center of the face than a smaller head.
Not necessarily.
Okay.
Not necessarily. You just don't know.
And I don't necessarily agree with that either.
Right.
Okay.
You never know. You hit one configuration, you hit another one, until all of a sudden the configuration that you least expected might come up with the best centerness of hit. And you probably would have never dreamed you would have used that shaft or that head or whatever. You've got to go in with zero bias and just say, okay, let's hit some balls and let's just see where it takes us and follow.
Let me add one more thing to what Bobby said there, is that one of the things that when you're looking for combinations between head and shaft is what you end up with swing weight. So sometimes you end up with a big head that's really light, or a small head that's really heavy, or vice versa. And then you put in a super light shaft or a heavier shaft or a medium shaft. What you're trying to find there in weight is which hammer you can swing. And I always say a carpenter who goes to the job site with the wrong weight hammer might as well go home.
So
if
even
he's
with
framing today and he doesn't have his framing hammer, then he's not going to do a good job. And so what Bobby's saying is try all these different combinations, but what's going to work is the one that fits you the right way, that has the right combination of, 55 grams of weight in the shaft and, the right weight in the head, or a 75-gram shaft and a lighter head. And it's the right weight because that's the hammer that you hit in the center, and you hit that nail head every time.
So
and
even
that's
with
what I'm talking about.
understood. And even with my handicap being what it is and my swing being what it is, which is sort of all over, a trip to Golf Tech may further define what I already have in the club that I just described.
You're not
to you.
fitting clubs, Bobby?
Yeah.
Well, I'm in California.
Bobby.
I'm in California.
I wouldn't go to an indoor facility, no matter who they are, to be fitted. I would want to see the live ball flight.
I got it.
Just me.
Yeah, but they're using driving.
But seeing the live ball flight and having the launch monitor backup,
yes.
so you can prove the technology and you're getting the right spin rate. That is
in the right ball.
They're using driving range balls for fitting.
Yeah,
half of them are dead.
Yeah, that's not good.
Well, that's where we are. We're not club elitists, I can't pay $500,000 a year to belong to a high-end golf club where they have all this shit, right?
But a demo day, especially one that has ball flight ball fitting in there, would also have premium balls.
Yeah, and you might have a country club there, a golf club where there's a PGA Pro that has the Titleist practice balls or something like that for their range. Some private clubs, they'll have those. You get the Titleist V1 practice.
And they'll let you come in for a fitting, without,
Right.
joining or
Sometimes they'll
belonging to
have
the
a
club.
demo day there. They let the public in.
Yeah, I got you. Well, I really appreciate your insight there.
All right, gang. Well, this was a lot of fun tonight. Troy, we've taken a lot of your time, buddy. We appreciate all your insight.
It was fun. Thanks.
Thank you, Troy.
Thanks, Troy.
All right, thank you.
Thanks. Troy and Bobby.
Take care, Bobby.
Take care. Thank you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
That's interesting, isn't it?